This armory protects my heart.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. How are we doing? How are we doing, chat? Good to see you all here. It is May 17th, 2023. Welcome to Myles Dyer Live. I am Myles Dyer, exhausted, full of cuts. Got some cardboard cuts on my hands, paper cuts and a metal cut when putting together with my dad, who also gets credit, this lovely cabinet behind me, because for the longest possible time I have been using this small little one that sticks out and it's really awkward, and I always wanted some of my display to sort of come forward to the forefront, and so I'm really grateful for getting all that set up today. Just want to say a huge shout out to everyone in the chat, and ouchie indeed, like paper cuts are always the worst. Even when I was just folding up cardboard boxes, you think nothing is going to go wrong, I'm being very careful, and they always seem to get through. You really like the song, glad to hear it. All the music is actually available on Spotify, so if you do want to check it out, search Myles Dyer Live, and you will be able to find all of the music there. And actually I've got a QR code you can use as well. Every week, whenever there's new music added to the intro, you can find it all in that playlist, all from the record label Monster Cat, because I'm a part of Monster Cat Gold. I'm just really into my EDM, and if there's any opportunities to fuse it with metal, then I'm always there as well. For those that are new, I know there are going to be a lot of new viewers today. Myles Dyer Live is a weekly show that takes place every week at this time, although might not be this time next week for a reason we'll get to a bit later, where we just hang out. Sometimes we talk about serious issues, they might be world events, mental health and well-being and life hacks. And then other times we like to just sit back and have some fun, maybe talking about movies, games, having quizzes, or maybe all of the above, like today. And yeah, I'm just really excited for today's show. I have been incredibly grateful for Ash Millman giving up her time to come on. She'll be joining us in about 10 minutes' time, and we're going to talk all about horror. She really knows her stuff. And yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with horror. I'm absolutely petrified by it. Anyone who saw my live playthrough of Resident Evil Village, where the swear counter in the end got higher than my heart rate count, it was not great. And I know that there are some really horrible VR games just around the corner. Let's start off with a bit of housekeeping. Do hit the like button if you haven't already. It helps us with the algorithm. But yeah, if you want to stay in contact with me, all the links are down there below. I'm mainly active on Instagram, although I say that I haven't really posted on there for a very long time. And I'm trying my best to sort of get active on Twitter as well. We now have a Discord. So if you use Discord and want to be involved, please do. I will put a link in the description. It went live literally in the last week, and I've learned so much about like creating bots and all sorts. And I want to thank the lovely mods that have supported me, and everyone that's joined it so far. It's called Empathy Arcade, so it's just a feel-good hangout for everyone that choosing into the show, because unlike Twitch, when this live show ends, you all get kicked off. Not my doing, it's YouTube, blame YouTube. So now we have somewhere to fall back to afterwards with the Discord. In terms of the content that I do on here, every Wednesday I do Myles Dyer live. Last week I went through 50 ways that are free and can make you smile, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. The week before that I was giving a presentation on here about mental health and well-being tips. The response to that has been really, really great. And then on Fridays, not on this channel, but in my humble opinion, the greatest PSVR YouTube channel about PSVR Without Parole. I joined Brian Poole, and 11 o'clock at night, it's always a late one on Fridays, we discuss everything in the world of PlayStation virtual reality. And last Friday we talked a lot about Red Matter 2, which comes out tomorrow, I believe. I've been playing it. I'm having a great time. So much so that for weekends when we do Let's Play, where I dive into various PSVR titles, this coming week we're actually going to be delving into Red Matter 2. And I love that I'm able to get great use out of my AI-generated images of me. There's one for every thumbnail, there seems. I'm soon going to run out, I'm sure. But yeah, Red Matter, that is going to be happening on Saturday, 9 o'clock in the UK, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's one of the, I think it is probably the best looking PSVR 2 game to date. It's full of puzzles. It's very eerie, but it just looks beautiful. At the beginning, you start on the moon, and I remember looking out of my ship's window thinking, I feel like I'm actually on the moon. And if you're not familiar with Red Matter 2, this could give you a bit of an introduction.
Wake up. I know you can. Open your eyes.
I can't believe it worked. Sasha, is that you? We've received a distress signal from your crewmate on Strelka N3. You have a new mission. Find him and bring him home.
Why would they build a research facility way out here?
My reports show nothing. That sector should be deserted. Something just doesn't add up. Be careful.
No. Belgravia isn't what we were led to believe.
I can't control it. Sasha? Sasha? Do you read me?
So there we go. Red Matter 2 is this Saturday, and for those that don't know, every weekend I play a different PSVR 2 title, often ones that I've not played before, and I play them from the very beginning, just so anyone that's, considering a game, not sure if they want to get it, you can get a little taster. And if you start watching it and go, oh, you know what, I want to experience this for myself, you can switch off. That's right, I'm saying you can switch off my live stream and go and experience it for yourself. So yeah, it's going to be on this channel. All the links to all the different shows that I do are available on my YouTube channel. So yeah, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really good one this week. Something else we like to do at the start of the show is do a bit of reflection. Something I like to regard as vitamin G, vitamin gratitude. Every day, I just like to take a moment out of my day to think about something, someone, maybe an experience I've had that I'm grateful for. And a lot of you who are new today probably are like, oh, I haven't thought of anything. Just have a few moments now and share them in the chat. I know there'll be some people that are used to this and will be able to share what comes to mind for them. But just to buy you a bit of time, I'm always happy to go first. And for me this week, I have been grateful because after 4 weeks of working at CyberSafe, the cybersecurity company I work for, where I have been in a studio lugging stuff up an elevator to a studio in Hackney, the other side of London, and I've been interviewing engineers, product designers, behavioural scientists, people from all across the company about something exciting that we're going to be releasing at the start of June. It's been a lot of long days, and so what I'm grateful for is not only the support I have from you, the community, and the brilliant people I work with that really do want to try and change the world, but I'm also grateful for my flotation tank, which I went to on the way home yesterday. I didn't go home. I drove past my home and I went straight for a booking for my flotation tank session, which I haven't had in 5 weeks. I'm actually supposed to have them every 2 weeks, but I have just needed it so much. And if you don't know what a flotation tank is, it's my biggest recommendation. It's basically half a ton of Epsom salt in body temperature water. You close the lid, you switch the light off, and for an hour, it's the closest feeling you're ever going to get, I assume, to being in the womb. You eventually don't feel your skin, you're completely weightless, you have no sound, you have no sight, and your brain freaks out a bit at first, but then eventually it just completely cuts out. And if I'm feeling super anxious, maybe I've got to have a difficult conversation with someone, or I've got back pain, it's always sorted me right out. And Karina in the chat has just used the perfect emoji for that. You do feel like an otter indeed, or at least I can assume. So yeah, that's what I'm grateful for. What is everyone here grateful for in the world of vitamin G? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Callie Timecat says, big Vit G for me this week. My line manager who co-presented an equality session on LGBT today, it went really well. She's a great mentor. Great mentors are so important in workplaces, all about creating good work environments. I can think of lots of jobs I've worked over the years where I should like them, but the people I work with don't make a nice culture, and I want to get out of there. And on the flip side, I've worked in jobs that I wouldn't normally enjoy, but the people are great, the culture's great, and it makes all the difference. Looks like a healing point in System Shock. Yeah, I've been told about all sorts of horror movies. I think in Stranger Things they use flotation tanks. I haven't seen it, but I was actually started playing Callisto Protocol, and then I had a flotation tank session, and playing Callisto Protocol and then getting in a tank like that, your brain goes into all sorts of dark places. It can be pretty messed up. Karina says, I'm such an ungrateful brat. Give me a few more minutes to come up with something. Well, it's cool. We can come up with vitamin G throughout the live stream. Interesting to Blizz. I wonder if my tinnitus would spike in the tank. So I developed tinnitus in the last year, and I'm a lot more in tune with it now. It all depends on your stress levels and that. Like when I go to sleep, I have to listen to rain music. When you go in flotation tanks, you can have music all the way through, or you can have it at the start and at the end. And depending on how my tinnitus is, that's how I determine it. But yeah, have a look it up. They have them all over the country, and the worst response I've ever had to my recommendation was from one of my parents, I think, which was, it was nice, but probably not going to do it again. So yeah, give it a go, and happy birthday for next Wednesday. I mean, I'm going to be here next Wednesday, but in advance. Right, one last thing before we bring Ash on to talk all things horror. Another thing, Dyer Discoveries. What have I discovered this week? On the Discord, I know everyone's been watching this video I recommended that we're going to talk about in a future episode, which is the AI dilemma, which I've recommended only watch it when you're in a good frame of mind, because it will take you down a couple of notches about the world of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and some of the risks that come with it. And it genuinely is both an exciting time and a worrying time. So we will cover that on a future one. But for me, I'm actually going to plug something from last Sunday, which was I did the Let's Play for Walkabout Mini Golf on PSVR 2, which for me is like one of the best PSVR 2 titles. I've been so excited for it to come to the platform, and I got to play 18 rounds with Edward, who is one of the devs, and we actually played one of his levels, which was really, really cool. And as we were teeing off at the first hole, the cosmetic I have for my ball is a skull. And this is what he told me.
At that skull ball,
Yeah?
the texture, the image is my skull. I got an MRI a while ago, took the 3D data of the skull and projected it onto the ball for the texture.
So you're telling
So
me
you're knocking around my head
I am
there.
bashing in Edward's skull on this course of mindfulness.
It's gonna be... That's gonna be really satisfying. If I start to win, you can be like, this guy!
I'll be hitting it. Right, here we go. Let's hope your skull serves me well. Yeah, we don't need to watch that bit. That's fine. It's fine. It went in. It bounced a few more times and it went in. Edward was really generous with his time. He was also he got up at 6 a.m. in Melbourne because their team is all over the world, and he beat me. Spoiler. But yeah, it was a really great conversation. It was just super interesting interviewing someone in a world that they've created. And I definitely want to do more of them in future. So really good. Just had a super chat that I just want to reference. Wow, it's going very, very quick. Huge thank you here. From Fluke, the Swedish Game Cat, 100 Sekiros, who says, the float tank, the closest thing you could get to the Matrix. When you get out of the flotation tank, you just crawl out, and you do feel like Neo, where he just gets out of all that goop. You sort of just like crawl onto the floor. But you get your own private room, so you don't have to worry about looking just gross. And but your hair feels amazing afterwards with all the Epsom salts and stuff like that. And Karina rightly says, you know what I'm about to say, please press the like button, especially with who we have on now. I'm just getting my notes up. It literally went on a screensaver just as I was needing it. Really grateful for Ash Millman, who is going to join us. Ash is a seasoned presenter and video producer, currently championing the awesome world of PlayStation on PlayStation Access. She's also a talented voice actor behind the NoSleep Podcast, sending shivers down the spines of its listeners. And if that wasn't enough, Ash is constantly lighting up the internet with her own live streams on Twitch and has created an inclusive community of horror lovers and scaredy-cats alike across her socials. A horror connoisseur at heart, Ash's passions for all things terrifying knows no bounds, whether it's playing through horror games, conjuring, eerie masterpieces, or just having a good old spirited chat as we are today.
Ash!
Hello!
Yay!
Hi! It is I, Ash.
Finally,
Greetings.
it's official.
Oh my God, she went for the parents. And I'll show you what's up with the clock puzzle. Woo. Ah! Oh my! It's horrible. It goes on for a while. And then it goes green. Ah! And then you have to press it. And then you have to...
Don't do that.
Come on. Just normal, please. Just normal. Just normal. Just normal. It's gone quite well for me so far, I think. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Ash, welcome.
Hi! Oh my God, that was the best intro ever. I was probably like, oh, I was laughing at the the electricity thing with Dave. Every time I see that, it really makes me laugh.
I laugh every time I see that clip on the edit. It was just, it also took me down memory lane because those were really popular when they came out. Was it the early 2000s?
Oh my God, I don't know. I never had one. So like I got one specially for this because I thought, haha, it'd be really funny to have like, this is a little behind the scenes moment for that. I thought it'd be really funny to have like, I'm going to electrocute you as a challenge. Obviously not really electrocuting him because it's like just like the funny game. And learned that Dave actually has like a phobia of electricity and electric shocks, like a legit one, live on the stream. And I was like, oh my God, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. Sorry. And he was such a good sport about it. But me, like, that's why I was laughing so manically when I picked it up because I was trying to prove to him it wasn't that bad and he didn't need to be worried because he was having like an internal freak out. And I was like, ah!
I do love his reaction as well. It's don't do that.
Because he thinks I'm I'm like trying to wind him up. Oh God! But
was
yes,
so good.
hello.
Honestly, thanks so much for being up for this. I'm really excited for our conversation because, yeah, I mean, horror is a great topic, but horror is a very subjective form. Obviously, different people find different things horrific and scary. And as I mentioned sort of a bit earlier, that I have a very conflicted approach to horror. I'm absolutely terrified by it, and sometimes I don't know why I do it, and then that's kind of the appeal. But I suppose that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, man. I feel like it's kind of like a weird conflict within yourself, isn't it? It's daring yourself to look at something that maybe you don't want to, or is a bit much. It's that kind of, when like children like dare each other to go, who can go the furthest down tunnel, who can do that. It's that constant feeling all the time, but it's just you're doing it with yourself.
I wonder if that comes back to Dave's fear of electricity. I mean, look, no one likes to get electrocuted, but a big part of that is the anticipation. Yes, it's not comfortable when it hits you, but it's not that bad. So I wonder if that's a part of it. But someone in the chat just said, "Hi Ash, love your content. Just wondering, have you watched The Descent?"
Oh, that's Abby Westy. Hello, Westy. She's winding me up because I've made notes on this, like what I'm going to talk about, and The Descent has come up about 5 times already. Always in there.
Idea.
No, yeah, never mention it. Never mention it. I thought I had to make sure to write it down just in case.
The Descent is absolutely incredible. There was a sequel, wasn't there? Was there a sequel?
Yeah, there was The Descent too, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah, of course. Like a lot of, I mean, my all-time favourite movie is Donnie Darko, and there was a sequel made many years later, and I've never watched it, and it's that kind of thing of, I don't need to think about it.
Yeah, that doesn't exist for me,
That's it.
Yeah, like to be fair, The Descent 2, it's not so much that it's like a bad film or anything like that. It's just it undoes the canon of the UK ending. So I love a bleak, no hope ending so much, and they take it away by having a sequel. Oh.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say that because a movie I was always fascinated by is I think I've got it here. I dug up a few before. Yeah, I Am Legend. Although it feels weird holding this up now because is Will Smith someone we want to talk about? But yeah, I Am Legend. That has have you seen it, by the way?
Yeah, I love I Am Legend.
Do you know about the alternate ending?
Yes, because it was supposed to be similar to the book, which is quite very much a revelationary experience for him, and then. Yeah, the other ending sounded so hard. Like it definitely should have gone with it.
Yeah, it was a non-Hollywood ending. I mean, like kind of spoilers for anyone that's not seen it yet, but like I won't go into too specifics. But at the end, he does a heroic thing, I Am Legend, and like saves the day. But in the alternate ending, which is the one that Ash was alluding to there, it turns out that he was the monster all along, which is really powerful, and they just thought no. But I do feel we live in a time now where, I guess also with the democratization of the internet, people are less afraid to sort of go with those bold endings. I feel like, it's not about pleasing a cinema audience quite as much anymore when you've got streaming. So you can just kind of stick to a vision and be really disgusting and horrible, which is what we like. That's exactly I just like the full commitment. The I Am Legend one as well. The whole point of the title is that he realizes he is a legend, like the boogeyman to the people, like these vampire creatures. So the title only makes sense if he's the bad guy because he's the legend. He's the baddie. It does have a great scene with the mannequin though, doesn't it? Where where he's just the mannequin just turns up somewhere and the question is like, has the mannequin moved? And it's actually, well, no, he's been moving them around, but he's just, because he's by himself, he's just lost his mind. That's definitely a theme we'll get to. But before all that, Ash, what is new in the world of Ash? Like, what have you been up to lately?
I feel like I've got simultaneously nothing to say and loads on. So it's one of them. I've got like a few projects behind the scenes that I'm not ready to talk about yet, but I've got some stuff going on there, and like Twitch streaming is the main thing that's new for me. That still feels very fresh. Which I'm really enjoying doing, and like specializing in horror games and being able to cover stuff that maybe I haven't played before or I have played but would like to like revisit again, and also doing like crafts and stuff. It's been really, really fun, and I'm really glad that I've kind of got an outlet to do all that as well. Otherwise,
was live streaming for PlayStation Access, like gameplay live stream, was that your first time doing it?
I had done a couple before on What Culture, but really not many. Like we did like specials, or like we started doing it a little bit more before I left. My main experience of it was with Rach, I think, doing Bloodborne stuff, and that was
Right.
bare long ago before we started back at Access. So the Access stuff, it wasn't my like first time ever, but it was very fresh. Like I was still very nervous about doing it, and I felt a bit like, oh god, I've got to like be this person, be this, that, and the other. And I feel a lot more comfortable doing it now. And then like being on camera in general, it's very weird to say as someone who's like a presenter and a content creator. And also previously I did modeling, and I'm like, oh god, I hate cameras. But like
It's very
just
contextual though.
yeah, it's just I feel like I've always been someone where if I'm scared of something, or if I'm anxious about something, I will do it 10 times more. And that's definitely something that's happened in my career as well, because it's loads of stuff that I love and love doing and love talking about. And it's been like, right, I'm gonna master this.
Yeah, live streaming games is something I've only done, I think, maybe 3 months now. I was doing it just in the lead up to PSVR 2 because I knew that once that came out, I was going to be live streaming it alongside the channel that I co-host on. And it was good having it all set up. But for me, it was like, if you're live streaming games, this is a simplistic way of looking at it, but I'm like, you've got to be one of two things. You've either got to be excellent at the game, so you've got to be able to show off the tricks. I think of Fortnite, I love playing, but you're never going to be as good as those people that are just building Disneyland in 5 seconds with and all that sort of stuff. Or you've got to be entertaining. And I'm always in this middle ground where I kind of want to play the game, and I put on my concentration face and stuff like that. So the good thing about VR is you can't really see my face, and I think VR for me, it also appeals to my non-gaming audience, because it's just like, oh, what's Myles doing in this world? There's like a different element to it. But I definitely do want to jump back to flat screen gaming. But I really respect people, because when you're doing it for an hour, 2 hours, and there's no off time. You have to put yourself fully out there.
I guess so. But then also, like, as you'll know from your lovely community, I'm seeing loads of nice messages and comments. Like, I feel like having nice people there and people that are chatting with you, like, it's just like hanging out with your friends. Like, I've got to that point where I don't think about live streaming as much as I'm going to go and hang out with a really lovely community for a bit and laugh about some silly stuff. And I feel like that at work, and I feel like that like at home in my own stuff. So it is really nice how it kind of like you realize what goes on with it as content creation.
Yeah, and the PlayStation Access community is incredibly nice and supportive. And that's not an easy thing to do in this day and age, especially with the toxic aspects of gaming, because you know those things can bleed in, but you have like moderators, and I don't know. There's something to be said about having a strong culture where it keeps those kind of people at bay. There's always people that want to kind of ruin the fun, but it's always positive, and it's always great to see.
Yeah, you got to work hard to keep that kind of energy, like both as a person, as a commenter, everybody. So it's just nice when everyone's together. Like, I just love.
we all just love for sure. So in terms of horror, can you recall a specific moment when you realised your passion for horror was more than just like a casual interest? Because like, when did that crossover happen for you? Or I can imagine in hindsight, you're like, it was a slow, gradual thing over time. But there must have. I always regard it as like that eureka moment where, in hindsight, you look back and you go, "Oh, that was the turning point," and that's when it became more than just something I like to engage with.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think there was like a crack of lightning and I was like, oh brother, I'm spooky, because like I've always been interested in kind of like weird stuff. I say weird as in like alt culture things. Like I've always liked like rock music and horror films and all that kind of stuff that comes in a neat little parcel where the goths live. But I think it kind of, I realized that I wanted to be in the horror content creation space, or that, I wanted to focus my energies on horror in particular. It was when I was doing film studies and we were writing articles and all that sort of thing and essays on films. I realized I loved film, and I wanted to focus on horror there. And that was kind of easy to do because it was an A-level course. So when we had a freedom to pick our own films, it could be horror. And then when I went to uni, I was like, okay, so I'm enjoying films. I like horror. Let's see where this goes. And I realized I just, being at uni, I realized I didn't quite care a lot about like the big classics or like, like art house cinema. That's not to say I didn't like it or that I didn't find it important and moving and like have all of these effects on cinema that are totally traceable back across all different types of genres. So I'm not discrediting it all, but it was very much like I was doing it for research and work. Whereas when I watched a horror film, I was really enjoying it. And then working for our student magazine, everything I covered was stuff that I liked because it's all volunteer work. So it was always horror stuff. And I was like, you know what, this is what I like and this is what I want to do. And that's what I want to focus on. So that's probably the path forward. So it's very much kind of a bit of introspection at uni, I think. But it started at film studies where I started noticing, I was like, oh, I've always thought I was a film fan, but no, I'm a horror film fan.
So film studies was the degree that you did?
Yeah, I did a degree in film and English. And I only did the English because I thought it would make me more employable alongside film studies.
Well, you've always been incredibly articulate. I'm always like, I just think how limited my vocabulary is. So I thought there must have been some kind of literature studies in your background.
Literally all I ever say is stuff about eggs. I don't know, like that's always the word that go back to. I'm like, ooh, egg. So if that's what 3 years of literature study gets you, then there you go.
My study was psychology because I wanted to become a therapist, but it was just as I started doing YouTube stuff. I mean, this really shows my age now. This was like in 2007. And then I started doing mental health stuff on YouTube, and that was kind of the path I took. But it's interesting when you go into learn a course, you have kind of a perception of what it might be. A lot of people think psychology, you're going to come out of it and you understand everyone. I didn't have, and you can read people's minds. I didn't have that misconception. The misconception I did have was it turns out in psychology, it's a lot of doing statistical analysis in a lab. Which just was, it was fine, but by halfway through the second year, I was done with it. It was really interesting, but like the stuff I loved was language, what it is to be human, what is it to think, and those kind of aspects. But that's only obviously one part of a bigger degree.
Yeah, for sure. And that shows through all the work that you do as well, though. Like you like #quest for empathy, man. Like all this sort of stuff, like that, your interests and this idea of learning the mind and what works with it and what helps it. It's all come through in your work. So it's definitely, worth it and good and cool.
It is really interesting when you look back on your life and you can sort of see where seeds were planted and you're like, actually, that makes sense now of like why I do this and why I do that. We will be talking lots about psychology, the psychology of fear, and we're going to talk about first fearful memories. But first, before I do that, because I forgot to mention it earlier, and I know there's a lot of new people in the chat as well, something that we do during the live show, because some people like to just listen to this in the background, that's absolutely fine. We actually have a puzzle of the thumbnail. So there is a link in the chat. It should be pinned. There's 380 pieces left. And everyone's worked on Ash's face first. See? They've gone,
thanks, guys.
There we go. There. And then we've got the live as well. But you basically just click on a piece and swap it. And if it's the right location, it will go green. If it's wrong, it goes red. It was a 510-piece puzzle. So by the end of the show, can you get those 380 left? And if it has gone in the chat, I'm sure one of the mods can post it again. Sorry for that little intermission. Puzzle time.
No, I love that. I didn't realise you had a puzzle going. What the hell?
We used to actually play one of the streaming word games, Words on Stream. Have you played that before? It's actually really good for Twitch, but we used to always do it at the very end. But it was always just like, it ended up being like a 40-minute ending because it basically ends when you lose. And I was like, we need to shake it up. So having something in the background kind of works. Right, Ash. We're going to start off with first fearful memories, and everyone in the chat would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. So I'm interested to know, can you recall the very first memory you were of when you were scared, like the very first time?
Shortly, I don't think it's the specific first ever time, but one of the earliest memories I have of being scared is definitely. I used to have recurring nightmares about various things, but the one that I always had the most was a recurring nightmare about pterodactyls. I was really terrified of
Wow.
pterodactyls. I was very scared of being taken away from my bed. So I don't know if I've spoken about this on the internet before, but like when I was younger, the bedroom I had, it was a bed up against a wall in the corner, and on the wall was a window, and out of the window was a low roof, so you could go and stand on the roof if you wanted to go out the window. So it means you know, it was because I was on the second story and that was the first story, so you could get onto the roof and then climb in through my window from the garden. So like I was always a bit scared that like a creature was going to come in. And the pterodactyl fear, I think it must have come from watching Jurassic Park or something like that had these beasties in that swept people up. And I'd lie in my bed and I'd fall asleep and I'd have this nightmare that there was a pterodactyl out of the window, and if I moved it would know I was there, and I would like try and turn and like look out the window as slowly as possible so that I could see if there was any shapes there. And it would be like sat on the roof like looking in, and it would and then obviously because I'd seen it, it would see me and it would bust through and like come and try and get me, and I'd be running down the corridor of my house hiding in my parents' room, and they weren't there, and I'd be like screaming and crying and looking for them, and I'd see it flying out the window outside of out of their room, and because it's dream logic, it busted through the wall again. It like Kool-Aid manned through the wall of my parents' bedroom, picked me up in its beak and flew up into the sky, and that was the end of the dream. I was like, I've been taken by the pterodactyl, and like that I had multiple times to be able to remember it to tell it to you as well. It was horrible.
We could literally have played 500 questions of like, guess what I was terrified of. I would have never said a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyls, man.
And it's good because it has terror in the name. So extra points there, Ash.
Oh, thank you.
One of my earliest memories was I was at a fireworks display with my parents, and I don't know how I was really, really young, and we were sort of queuing, you know, in the dark in this field to get in, and there were a couple of people in the queue in front of us, and one of them turned around and had this like, I think a goblin mask or something like that, and it genuinely terrified me. Like, it's interesting because it's that age where I can't really remember what I was thinking. I just remember that sense of fear, and I do remember my parents and everyone laughing, but not in a mean way, just kind of like that whole thing of like they didn't think it was gonna be that scary, but I just have this very vivid memory of how startling it is. But another story I have was regarding spiders, and I know spiders, we love them. I think I must have been like 10 or 11, and was at home. I think it was just my mum and I were at home, and I was in their study, and I went to turn the computer on, so I leaned over, turn it on, and I felt something like on my neck, and it felt like cobwebby. It was just like, I was not sure what it was, and I don't know why, but my instinct was to do this, and I was like doing this, and then I started walking through all the rooms in the house, and then like just very calmly walking through, and I went into the kitchen where my mum was doing the ironing, and I went, "Mum, what's this on my shoulder?" And she went, "Come a bit closer," and she told me afterwards it's because she couldn't believe what she saw, and then she screamed and with a towel flicked it. I obviously did that, and then I look on the floor and there was one of these giant house spiders with like one leg missing on the floor, and
oh my god.
For about 4 or 5 months afterwards, anytime I went into a room, I'd have to look, because I honestly don't know how it got onto my neck. Like I was just like, how, like, did it fall from the ceiling, or was it on the? I don't understand. I still. I'm
flabbergasted. Why didn't you just brush it off?
Because I don't know. I just felt. I don't know. It was. I don't know. Yeah. In hindsight, I look back, go, why didn't I brush it off? I did that, and I calmly walked around.
You're like pressing it into your ear canal, like lay some eggs. That's
probably why the leg came off. Probably I had the leg, and then when she hit it off, it was the leg wasn't going to go with it. So that was. And I've always had a huge fear of spiders. I don't like killing them. I have this kind of superstitious sort of belief that if you kill one, they'll come back in greater numbers. Kind of the
they'll
universe
come for revenge.
Yeah.
I agree.
They'll pass the word on the street, and they'll go, that guy.
It's awful. My house here is full of spiders. I don't know why. It might have been empty for a little bit before I came in, I think, the flat, because when I came in, it was just like thick spiders everywhere. And I got rid of all of them, had spider season last year, and there more came out. And since then, it's been kind of calm on the spider front. And I feel like I've made like some sort of pact with them unknowingly. And now I'm really scared that if one comes out and I'm like, get out of here, they're all going to be like, no, this is our house. Let's come back out. Fight.
Well, Siago Guitarist in the chat says he thinks his spider story wins, so I'm just bringing it up. I haven't read this yet. First fearful memory. Before I could talk, lying down, seeing a huge spider crawling up my chest, screaming my head off, but my mum took a while to realise. I can remember her jumping, hitting it off. How old were you? That's one hell of an early memory.
Oh my God. Ah, what's with all these spider things?
There's plenty of spider stories. I also remember another one where, again, I was really little, was in the living room. Well, I was so little that I was sat on my dad. My dad was like on the couch. His legs were going to the coffee table. And I was sort of sitting on his legs like a bridge. And then I remember lying backwards. So I was upside down. And when I did it, I saw there was a house spider just in front of me. But it was upside down. And like, yeah. I love all these spider memories are coming back now. We could do a whole episode on just spider stories. Should we change this? The art of spiders. That's what it should be called.
Get them rid of them. I once found an earwig in my ear. Yeah.
In your ear.
That was horrible. Yeah.
When you say you found it,
how
does one find one?
I went out in the garden, frolicking, playing, having a lovely afternoon in the grass. And when I came back in, I was covered in like grass and bits of dirt because I was like rolling around like a dog outside. I don't know. When I was a child, me was free and happy, and I came back in and felt it's just like mad itching in my ear. So I was like, ugh, what's this? And I put like my finger into like my ear canal and then like pulled. And as I hooked, like I felt it wrap around something. And like so like I pulled it out like this. So it's like it was just about to go into the hole. And I pulled it out and I dropped it because I'd felt like something move on my hand and looked on the floor, and it was like this big, like length, thin little earwig, big pincers, and I was like, I didn't think they go in your ears. I thought that was just their name.
What was the was it the Wrath of Khan, the original Star Trek? Like I remember seeing it as a kid because my dad was a real Trekkie, and Khan, he literally puts these bugs in the ears and it goes in and they're screaming as they're crawling in their ears. That always terrified me as a kid. Yeah. All right. Very, very, very good. Right, I'm realizing with time, like how quickly time goes. We're gonna move on to the psychology of fear. So Ash, let's talk about this. For you, what to you are the key components that make, we talk about horror movies, horror games. What is it that taps into your mind, gets you freaked out?
Ooh, I think for me, but also kind of objectively, I think what makes horror work and what makes it the most effective is the fear of the unknown, and it's channeling that into like that's the widest interpretation of it, and it's in channeling that into different like facets that work. So whatever happens in a horror movie, you don't want to be able to know what comes next or be able to predict where it's going to end up. Yes, there's formulas, and you might know that people are going to die or that it's going to be an unhappy ending, but figuring out the steps to get there should be difficult. And that's the joy of something like a slasher, where you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a bunch of teenagers, everybody is going to be picked off, there'll be a final girl, they'll show down with the big bad at the end and defeat them. Like that's what's going to happen. But you don't know the way that each person's going to die. You don't know when they're going to die. You don't know what this character, this baddie, this villain has that's unique to them that they're going to unleash on these people, or how they're going to be able to fight back. So it's kind of like not knowing what someone's capable of when it comes to kind of a slasher villain. But you look at something like when it's the dark is the fear of the unknown embodied completely, because you can't see. So you can't know what's out there. That, for me personally, that is never truer than with the ocean. Like water horror is what really, really gets me. There's so many films that just get me because they've got like a big open ocean. Even if that's not part of the horror, it's like just being on it, away from civilization, where there's these, I don't even know what the word for it is, milliliters and milliliters, liters and liters of water out there. Gallons. I was trying to think
gallons.
of
Yeah, what is more than gallons? Help us, chat. But do you know what? I'm like, what is more than gallons?
I don't know. Cubic.
Mega gallons? I don't know. But
Yeah.
Thalassophobia, I totally have it. For me,
Yeah.
I've always said there's a reason we evolved out the ocean. It wasn't to go back into it. So I'm always happy staying at the shore. I remember when, as a kid, first going to Florida, and I just had this vision of like, don't go in the ocean because there are literally sharks waiting for you there.
Yeah.
But
You
can't
hope
see...
it's sharks. Could be Cthulhu. That's the thing.
Yes. Well, you were playing many moons ago on the live stream Subnautica, which is a game I would love to play. Well, I'd love and not love to play a PSVR 2 port.
Yeah.
That would be
God, that'd be intense.
Have you played Stranded Deep?
No, I've seen the artwork of it and thought, oh, that looks fun. I will probably be very scared.
Yeah, there are like mega bosses on the map, and so one of them's that they have a megalodon, which isn't a megalodon, it's just a regular size shark. But then they've also got, I think it's an octopus, but it's giant, and so you basically go in the middle of the ocean in this area, and then you'll see a chain that goes down from a buoy, and you have to follow the chain down into the darkness, and you see this octopus just clinging. And when it wakes up, that's when you've got to fight it.
That's disgusting.
It is. It's pretty horrific. The unknown. It is true. It's like whenever it comes to overcoming fears. I mean, I always heard this thing about that there are people from countries that don't have like bees or wasps, and if they visit here, they'll see them and be completely freaked out because they're just not used to it. I remember going to a country where there was these gigantic black hornets that no one else batted an eyelid to, but to me it was just like just the most horrible thing. So it's always about what you're familiar with, and keep going back to spiders. But about 20 years ago I went to see my late uncle in Australia, in Brisbane, and we were there for 3 weeks, and it was in their winter, our summer. And I remember spending the first week and a half checking my shoes before bed, checking under the toilet, just basically checking everywhere for huntsman spiders or what have you. Didn't see any. And then I stopped checking and didn't see any for the rest of it. And, it's just that becoming acclimatized and expectation. I mean, if I had seen one, then that feeling would have definitely reset. But, familiarity is an important part. And I also like what you said about it's about the tension and the build-up. And just before going on the show, we were talking about how, for me, there's sort of like two elements. There is the build-up, the sense of dread. There's a lot of games that are really great with it. Resident Evil 8, really struggle with games like that. As soon as the action starts, I'm fine because I'm like, now I know I'm in control. The dread, my mind starts creating scenarios. I mean, that's how anxiety works. We start thinking about the future, things that aren't actually now happening, and we just catastrophize everything. And I just always get myself psyched up when it comes to horror games. Whereas there are jump scares, which are scary, but it's like puncturing a balloon, isn't it, of tension. There's like, as soon as the jump scare happens, there's that sense of relief. Like in that intro clip with you playing Madison, it's horrible when it appears, but straight away you're like, okay, now I know what I'm dealing with. Madison's coming to PSVR 2.
So you got to play it. Unfortunately, Mr. VR.
I honestly don't know how I'm gonna survive.
Looney's is behind him. We'll find what he's been looking for.
You completed it in the one stream as well, didn't you?
Yes, I was doing one of the trophies. I think it was like finish it with less than 40 pictures or something.
So had you already played
love
it?
Madison.
So you had already played. Okay, yeah. Okay, no, it looks great. And
I think I played it, and then I'd had like a little problem with the ending because they patched it, and because it's an indie game, you know what I mean. Like sometimes this stuff happens, and I had to wait for a patch to finish it off, and that was more tension because I was like, I need to get to the end, and it was big tension to go back into it, forget everything that had happened, not really forget, but like be separated from everything that had happened already, and then go straight into like the nasty ending. I was like, oh,
well. Maybe I'll have to challenge you at some point because a game that is coming out, I don't think there's a release date yet, but from the publisher Fun Train, The Exorcist Legion VR, Sin, which stands for Safety in Numbers. It's actually a co-op horror. So we should definitely do a Let's Play together on that.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah. And then you can just hold my virtual hand. Although there's gonna be...
You're like, it's okay.
But when I played Resident Evil Village, I had an earpiece in under my headset so I could hear the chat, like text to speech. And some people think it's cheating. I'm fine with it. But anyone that's watched the video, my heart rate goes up to like 140. Like it, and I swear so much. My parents have to stop watching it. And also, I don't swear a lot normally. This is why I could never do anything like PlayStation Access, because like you guys don't swear on there. Like how you live stream a horror game and don't swear. No.
Oh,
swearing is a part of my coping mechanism. Like for some reason, just going,
yeah.
I fucking hate this. I fucking hate this. That's just how I cope with the situation. But yeah.
You've got to reach into the depths of your soul and pull out just like a weird noise or phrase, like Rosie's handling of it, where she's like, "Whoa, you cheeky monkey!" It always makes me laugh so much.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, she does do that. So do you I assume you're allowed to talk about this. Do you live stream on a delay?
I don't think so. I don't know our tech set up that well, but like I think it's all as it comes. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious. I would need a massive delay for the string of swear words that come out my mouth. Right. Let's have a look here. Right, we're moving on. Spine-chilling scenes that stay with us, Ash. So, what are some of your all-time favourite horror scenes from movies and games that have left a lasting impression? And actually, to go more specific, and by the way, if your answer doesn't go with this specific question, take the broader one. Because you've spoken a lot in the past on podcasts and that about the moralistic nature of horror. And so I'm just wondering if you can recall a scene that really pushed this notion to its limits. So, you know, causing you to question the morality presented in the storyline.
Ooh, okay. I have got a good answer for this one. I've literally listed about 10 scenes because I was like, oh, there's so many. But one of my all-time favorites, but it's a very understated scene, is the end of The Blackcoat's Daughter, also known as February. So I'm going to spoil it for you with this ending, is the thing. So if you don't want...
I can hear you louder now.
I can pick a different one if you like.
No, go for it.
But I think for like a moralistic one, The Blackcoat's Daughter is about, it's like two timelines that come together. It's about one that's about a girl while she's at school and she is possessed by a demon. And the other is 10 years later, her returning to the school. And you realise why, as it kind of, their stories coalesce towards the end, is that the girl that becomes possessed ends up killing people and being really violent. And so she gets taken away and exorcised. And this is this really beautiful, it sounds horrible, but it's this really beautiful, touching, nasty scene where she's crying as it's happening, because she can see this you never really see like a demon, it's always like this figure in black, and you can see this figure in black and she's looking at it and she's crying and saying like, please don't go, please don't leave me. And you realize that it's kind of this massive, you know, that's her friend. That's the one piece of comfort that she's had throughout this whole film. That's the person that's been with her and knows her better than anyone else, because it's like inside her. And so it's like this time later where she got institutionalized and then has come out and gone back to the school, is to try and find the demon again. So the end of the film is her trying to reenact the same things that brought it about in the first place, which were beheading people and putting it in front of a furnace. So she kills the people who've given her like a hitchhiked ride there, taking their heads in front of the furnace, and it's cold, like there's no fire in it, nothing happens, she's there, and the end is her walking away and just breaking down into tears because it's not there anymore and she can't find it and she has no way of reaching it again, and she's like been searching for it for this whole time. And that's true. I love it. I love that film so much. I don't think it's the perfect film, but I do think it's got the best like message I felt of anything, because you can look at the demon as anything really, anything that's kind of like a weird part of you that you don't like but is there anyway. It's like, you know, mental health stuff, it's your depression, it's your anxiety, it's that thing that's stuck with you that makes you, but you're not, maybe you shouldn't, you know, be attached to it in that way. And it's her feeling that emptiness of its loss at the end of the film. even though it's something that's made her kill, it's made her, like, it's possessed her and changed her and done all these horrible things in her image, she still wants it back. She still misses it. She still pines for it. Oh, I just think it's so powerful, honestly. I think about it a lot.
You're going to make me, I'm going to go and check it out. And I think
Yeah.
even if I do know it, when I, because sometimes you can know like where it's going, but it's the journey, that the emotional response you have to it can be quite impactful. Yeah, I mean, my answer is from a slightly different perspective. Like, the moralistic aspect of this movie is more about, why do I even like this movie? Why should I like this movie? Because I think it's arguably very problematic. But is it problematic? And I actually dug it out. I haven't been to Blu-rays for ages, but it's Martyrs.
Oh, right. Okay.
Have you
He's
seen Martyrs?
hardcore.
So you've seen Martyrs, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I love about Martyrs, well, firstly, it's like one of these movies where I'm like, it's totally not my kind of movie, but it clearly is, because it's really resonated with me. The first thing I love about the movie is, I would say it can be divided into thirds, and at the end of each third, you think, I know what this movie's like now, and then there's a twist, and it completely goes beyond expectations, and you're thinking, okay, I've completely miscalculated this. Okay, I think I know where this is going, and then there's another twist, and then there's a twist at the very end. The reason I bring the moralistic part of it is, obviously, there is an ethics question behind it. It's all about sacrifice, and the idea of sacrificing other people for the greater good, and how much that plays into people's, disillusionment or delusionments. And but the reason I think about it in the moralistic sense for me is, there's a lot of conversations around like torture porn as a genre, of like the idea of, when do movies just become gratuitous? When is it just gore for gore's sake? I mean, one of my all-time favourite movies was the original Saw movie, and I actually really liked Saw 2. Saw 4, I think, was another strong entry, but then it became just a parody of itself in many ways, and a lot of people think, yeah, you just go there for the traps. Whereas I do think, for the first one, there is this really interesting, and I remember actually being really moved by the first movie when he gets the saw out and does the thing, because I remember in that moment it was this, I felt quite on edge about it, because I was like, for me it was just this unlocking of like, fuck, you get this sense of like human nature and like the fight or flight thing of like, shit, in those moments humans are capable of such fucked up shit when they're really pushed against it. And so with Martyrs, yeah, obviously it's got one of these incredibly shocking scenes at the end, where things are cut quite close to the bone. I should word it. And yeah, and I just don't know how I feel about liking it. Like, it's a weird movie where I recommend it to people, whilst also not being able to recommend it. Like, I don't feel I should ever put that in front of someone. I think that has to be something they choose by themselves. I don't know what your thoughts are on Martyrs.
Oh, Martyrs and kind of French extremity in general is... I appreciate what it does in the genre. I'm not a big extreme cinema fan, like, in general. I think gore definitely has a place, and I like gore. And I like gore a lot in games more than anything else. In films, sometimes I find it a little bit overwhelming. I love Saw and I love the traps, but I feel like it's kind of got a little bit of... hamminess to it, you know what I mean? Whereas French extremity, there's no hammy, it's played dead straight, and it's like Martyrs in particular is like violent and about pain for gain. It's one of those ones that I don't really know how to talk about it properly. I feel ill-equipped to talk about it, even though I know I'm not. It's one of those films where it's a taste maker, a taste breaker.
So I'll ask a really blunt question then. Is it a good horror movie?
Oh, yes, because it sparks conversation, 100%. Like, and it has its place in the horror canon, especially as a French. Like, you think of French extremity, you think of Martyrs, like 100%. But I think about watching. I'm never going to watch it again. Is one of those things. I watched it ages ago. I probably couldn't tell you everything that happens in it off the top of my head, but I'm not going to watch it again because it's one of those ones that's just intense. And recently I watched Frontiers, which is like another French extremity one, or Frontier with the little brackets. And that was another one where it's just relentless nastiness of hurting people and pulling people apart and just, you know, just being gratuitous for gratuity's sake. And sometimes that absolutely slaps, and sometimes it feels exploitative, I think is probably the right word.
Yes.
And I think Martyrs dances that line, like, you know.
That is it. It does dance it, and I'm not sure which way it falls.
Yeah, that is it. Like, people have feelings about watching it. You know what I mean? You love it, you hate it. It sickens you, it disturbs you, it makes you think about suffering and morals. Like, what does it all mean? Like, that makes it a good film, and a good horror film in particular as well.
That's great. You make me feel less bad about it now. That's good. That's why I brought you on the show, just to talk about Mars.
Yeah.
Great. Right, we're going to move on. I'm mindful of time, and I don't want to keep you too much longer. But horror in gaming. How do you feel the horror genre has evolved because of gaming and sort of the interactive elements of it? Are there things that movies do better than games? Because it'd be an obvious thing to say, like, games do horror better because you're in control of it. I think of one of my first memories was playing Silent Hill. I think it was the first one where it had the rumble in the controller. I don't know if it was that on the PlayStation 1, but it had it to the heartbeat. And so you're playing it and the heartbeat is in your... like, it was... and back then, rumble was barely a thing, so it was just like the most immersive thing in gaming ever. But what are your thoughts on that between the two mediums?
Ooh, it's a big question because, you know, horror in gaming has always existed, and there's always been this kind of indie sensibility and big loads of fans like making scary experiences because they want to. I feel like horror game devs have a love for it that other genres, you know, not that they don't, but that maybe it's most intense with horror fans. I think if you like horror, you're a diehard horror fan usually, and seeing game devs make experiences that they would love to play is what you can feel whenever you play a horror game. You hear people talk about it with passion. It's never for the numbers or the money. It's because they want to make the next best horror game. And I think that inspires innovation, but like seeing it separately to the whole gaming industry is a little difficult. I think one of the main things that has changed and grown in horror games particularly is VR, which you'd obviously know a lot about, innit? But yeah, like virtual reality, being able to immerse yourself in a whole world more so than a flat screen is a massive innovation, and horror being able to take that to new levels with stuff like Switchback that's come out recently, where it takes all the technology of PSVR 2 with immersive haptic feedback and putting things kind of behind you, all around you to look around, like making choices that you've got to do to go different paths. There's so many different things that have been shoved into that make it incredible. The eye tracking technology where it can tell where you're blinking or not. There's another game that's not a horror game, Before Your Eyes, that also uses blinking technology.
Have you played it?
I haven't played it. It's on my list to play.
You don't know, because I cried my eyes out by the end of it.
Yeah.
It is, it's a beautiful game. It just takes a turn you don't expect. So yeah, anyone who's not had a chance yet, play it. Beautiful game. Yeah,
for sure. But like it's stuff like that, and you know, innovation comes across the medium more so than the genre, I think. But horror is always going to push for the most immersive. It's always going to push for the most in your face. It's always going to push for the most like get a reaction out of you. That's always the aim of horror. Horror and comedy are two sides of the same coin. It's about getting a reaction out of someone, whether that's a scare or a laugh, because sometimes horror is funny and sometimes comedy's scary. Like, look at Clowns, you know?
Yeah,
right in the middle. Horrible.
That's a really, really, really great point. Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with VR devs at the moment, and I want to sort of do it more on like public platforms, like I do it in casual conversation. But I'm just really curious if we're approaching a point in VR gaming mainly where there is an ethical conversation to be had about trauma, because I know in the days when it was like Doom came out and people go, oh, it just makes people violent, and the studies don't show that to be the case. I do think there's something different with VR. I think of Saints and Sinners, brilliant Walking Dead games in VR. The feeling, even on the Move controllers on PSVR, where it was really old PlayStation 3 technology, when you grab the head of a zombie, or a walker as they're called, and then you stab them in the head with the knife and you pull it out, you feel it. Like, there's something happening there. And I'm not saying I'm getting a taste for stabbing in the head.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sort of the anxiety, and again when I played Village and I had a heart monitor on, there's literally a bit where I'm looking in a cupboard that turns out to be empty, and I say my heart's about to go up, and I turn around and it jumps about 20 BPM. There is a physiological change that's happening, and we're in the very early days of VR still, and I just wonder when it comes to horror. You see sort of games on the market that get banned or questioned that are on the flat screen. And sort of my relationship with gaming now is games that I would normally struggle with on the flat screen. Piece of cake now. Like Callisto Protocol would be a game once upon a time that would terrify me. It's because it's in that box in the corner of the room. Because I'm used to VR, it's like it's kept in that frame. And it's the same with horror movies now. There's some stuff that scares me, but it's the thing in VR that you're in the room. And I know it's such an obvious thing to say, but it's like when you're there. The tutorial level in Resident Evil Village, when you go into the garage and it's pitch black and the door opens, that I'm just like, I know there's nothing in there, but the unknown, what your mind does, it's really, really remarkable. But one game I wanted to ask you about on this, Ash, I believe you are a fan of it, is The Forest. You've played The Forest.
Yeah, I haven't actually played loads of it, but the bits that I have played, I've really enjoyed. Before we move on to The Forest, though, I'm holding up my paintbrush that I've just found. What do you mean by like that? It's going to be a more of a trauma response with VR. Like, do you think that horror is like a dangerous thing to have in VR? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want to use the word dangerous yet, but it's like I wonder if there are these considerations in the developmental process of like. When people are testing it, of like you're literally people are in these worlds that are becoming increasingly believable. Is there gonna are we just approaching a point where I'm not saying I don't even know what I am saying. I just feel that we're coming to a point now where it's getting so real that warnings on games, it's always like contains violence or swear words and stuff. There's different trigger warnings when it comes to VR because you're literally the person in the game, and I don't know. I just feel like we're very close to a point where there might be some unforeseen circumstances where it's so terrifying. I just think it's a whole nother level compared to flat screen. But I might be one of those old people that is like, naysaying it, and in the future we'll look back and go, do you remember those people that were saying we should be worried about VR? I'm a massive VR fan. Like, I advocate it. I think it's the best way to experience horror. I'm just curious to know if there's this ethical threshold that we're approaching with it. But
I see. I think that's really interesting because I would disagree like massively, purely from the conversations. People usually use horror, like stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and the Satanic Panic of the 80s, and horror movies, horror games have always been at this center point of it makes you a bad person, or you're experiencing something that you shouldn't experience. Like, you've got this outlet that's this, that, or the other, where actually, to me, horror is very much a safe space. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's nasty and can be grim, the difference, it's the difference between entertainment and exploitation again, where you've got to draw the line. So I'm not saying your fears are totally like, I'm not dismissing them or saying they're unfounded or anything. But for me, it's a space where all of these nasty things exist, and like a world where you can kind of put a monster or something very real and tangible in front of you that represents something much greater. You know what I mean? Like taking out a zombie, that's that kind of representation of the fear of old age and decay, the fear of disease, the fear of this, that, and the other. It is a physical representation of something inhuman that is, fallible as well, that you can defeat. And even when you can't, like it coming after you is. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
No. I actually agree with that. And I guess I should have made a distinction that, like, the ethical, the sort of like, is it going to make people violent? I don't believe it. It's kind of like the physiological, like the ethics on, is the person going to be, is their heart rate going to go up to unhealthy rates and stuff? I just think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those components. But no, I'm totally with you there. And I think that my concerns are probably, hopefully, not going to be found. But
yeah. I think people are always...
The eye tracking stuff is just incredible. Like the stuff it does.
Crazy,
like that don't blink section. There's bits where you feel like I didn't blink, but it's so quick. Because you wanted to test it and go, is it really going to be able to change? And I just kept blinking as quick as I could. And I was like, this is incredible.
Oh no, I agree, and I think with on that note, then more so thinking about like the effect on a person it will have. I think people are always chasing the next big scare, the next big thing. Like it's why we have roller coasters and theme parks,
Yes.
and why horror movies have gotten more intense, more immersive. Why then they pull back and go more like into the unknown and all that sort of thing. It's about getting the biggest reaction out of an audience, definitely, and I think VR is the medium that can definitely do that. After inflicting it on my colleagues, like it can do, but I don't worry about it so much as I'm excited to see where that point lies, you know, where the line is, and if there ever is one.
Yes, right. Well, yeah, my threshold has changed completely. Like, I was really proud of myself for playing 2 hours of Village.
Yeah.
Because even though I was on a live chat and had people talking in my ear, I was playing at home alone. Like, for me, that is mental to think about. Like, I would never watch a horror movie in the dark. I was in the woods, like, swearing every few seconds, and like it was just mind-blowing. And Abby in the chat said, and hopefully people are aware of their own limitations. I think that's a great point. And also with VR, there's a bigger barrier to entry. Like, you have to be, I'm going to put the headset on, I'm going to get it set up. You're not going to accidentally stumble into these VR experiences. The games that tend to freak me out most in VR are those that aren't horror games, and I'm like, what's going to happen here? Like, where you don't know the genre, and I'm like, they literally could do something really scary right now, and I would hate it. But the Forest, the only thing I was going to say about the Forest was, I remember showing it to a friend on single player, and like on the end of the first night, I saw something running on all fours over the cliff on the sundown, and I said, and that's the Forest, and I turned it off and ejected it. But it is the best game to play co-op, and what I love about the Forest is you can literally play survival, and it's really good fun, base building, stuff like that. But if you explore the story, it's like a mix between Cannibal Holocaust and like Lost and The Descent. Oh, if you like The Descent.
Hey, The Descent!
Yes.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, have you not? I hear it's pretty good. Yeah, and I hear it gets better with the second as well. So yeah.
I'll give it a go.
But yeah, oh no, definitely. And The Forest has a sequel, Sons of the Forest, which it took 4 years to come to consoles. Hopefully not so much this time, but it looks phenomenal. And I've seen the mods of the VR for The Forest. I'd love them to do a PSVR 2 port for The Forest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, Green Hell like had that VR moment, didn't it? And like I was sat there going, "It's the forest, the whole
it's coming
time."
out
So I was
to
thinking it'd
PSVR
be so
2
good.
later this year, isn't it? So
yeah, like that would be very good, and a little taster of what the forest could do for sure.
That's awesome. Right, moving on nicely. Final bit before we do a quick quiz. Horror recommendations, Ash.
Yeah.
If I was to come up to you and say, "Hey, Ash, I want to be scared," what is the one movie or gaming experience that you say, put this one in the disk drive, or here's the USB stick, or here's a link?
Are you gonna make me say it again? Are you gonna make me say it again, Myles? It's The Descent. What? No, there's loads of stuff I would recommend. If someone says to me, "Can I have some recommendations?" which does happen every now and then, I usually ask what their taste is and what they're after from a scary experience, because there's so many different subgenres and different bits and pieces. I think if somebody doesn't know what they want and they want to try horror for the first time and it's a game, I would say Resident Evil 2 Remake, because
that's brilliant.
Just everything. It's everything. It's the classic survival horror updated, so you've got like a new version of it, so it's modernized. You're not like fighting off tank controls. It's got actual really scary moments, but still the campy fun of Resident Evil. You can take it as an action game, but you still got the survival, like inventory management as well. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is the ultimate beginner's game, and also one really for veterans as well. Like, that's it's amazing.
Cool.
I mean, it's not like a niche pick, but it is the one I would say.
And I never actually played the original Resident Evil 2. Funny enough, because I remember playing the demo as a kid when you used to get it on a magazine, and you just played it had like a timer on it, and I just played the same thing again and again. And then I finally went out to buy it, and it was just as Resident Evil 3 Nemesis had come out. And so Game, or whatever shop it was, accidentally put Resident Evil 3 in the box. So I got home and I was like, I've got the newest game. And so I have a real affection for Resident Evil Nemesis, which I had a love-hate relationship with the remake, because it was great, but it was short, and it felt a bit underserved in many ways. And Nemesis wasn't as scary. Like, I'd never experienced Mr. X before until playing Resident Evil 2. That gives me huge anxiety. The fact you can't kill him, even shooting his hat off wasn't enough comic relief to get rid of the tension.
It's when he comes and bosh, thanks for that.
So that in VR would be great. A VR port with Mr. X. Because the other thing in VR is the scale of people. I mean, I played Minecraft in VR, and like creepers and all the zombies, they're the same height as you. But when you're playing on a flat screen, they look like, okay.
Little.
But in VR, when they're the same height as you, you really feel like, okay, you get a real sense of scale. And so, Mr. X in VR would be quite something. But I have a feeling that Capcom are going to be working on more VR ports of their games. I mean, they're working on, obviously, Resident Evil 4 for VR at the moment. And with their RE engine, I think we're going to get to a point now where there's a lot more hybrid games. Yeah. And something actually I wanted to mention to everyone is next week, it's been announced today that we've got the PlayStation Showcase. It's actually happening at this time next week. So I'm going to ask on Discord whether to do this early or later. Next week, I'll be on PSVR without parole presenting during the live show. But it's been a long time coming, this showcase, Ash. And there's so many games
so
that we want to hear
excited.
about. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm really excited to do it. We're all gonna sit. We've got like a little cinema room at work, so we put
Is that
it
what
on
you do? I wondered when you do
yeah.
your live streams, like, yeah. Do you? Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Fun.
It's gonna be good. But that could be a whole other topic, right? We're gonna move on, Ash, because I'm incredibly grateful for your time, and time just whizzes by. I wanted to end with a quiz that we could all play along with, including the chat. I have here 12 very short horror sounds. These are unseen screams, as I'm going to call them, and I just need to know what the scream is from, in terms of like where is it coming from, what person or monster, and if you want, you probably get one with the other, and what's the movie. So are you ready, Ash?
Are they all films?
Yes, they are. They are all films.
Okay.
I just had to check again. I remember as I was doing this list, I was like, should I do some games as well? I was like, no, let's just keep it to movies. All right.
Okay.
Mark says most of these are going to be the wife.
The wife?
Yeah, he's always making jokes about his partner. Yeah. And that's why we have the drum sound. Right. First one, Ash. Could you hear that all right?
Oh, that's Pennywise in it.
There you go. That was it. That was a good start one.
I knew I recognised it. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Okay. Second.
Is that... Can I have that one more time?
Yeah.
That Christine. It's a
No.
car.
It does sound it.
It does sound like... My other guess would be the end of Texas Chainsaw when the car drives off and he's dancing around with his big chainsaw.
I'm afraid it wasn't, Ash, but MRI Gamer was the first to get it in the chat. It was Predator. So
Yo!
Never heard Predator screaming with a round of applause. Okay, number 3. number 3 is... This is actually from one of my all-time favourite movies, which is a controversial pick, because some people didn't like it.
Oh my god.
It was set in New York City.
I'm not looking at the chat. Hold on. It was set in New York City. Everything is set.
Everything is set.
Is it Cloverfield?
It is Cloverfield. Yeah, that is Clover. Yeah, I absolutely love Cloverfield. Not a perfect
amazing
movie,
film,
but I just loved it, and it has one of the most shocking scenes in it where
when she explodes. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's so good.
Yeah, even if we said it, it will still shock you, because the brilliant about it is the lack of dignity in that moment. There's no grieving process. It's just they get hushed out into the tunnel and it's move on. Like, that moment is so powerful.
So good. She was my favourite character as well, because she was just like a moody Grebo. I was like, more of her, more.
I'm always on the Cloverfield Reddits before the movies come out, and I remember we were predicting before the Super Bowl that this Cloverfield Paradox was coming out, and I woke up the next morning and it was already on Netflix, and it was such a shame of a movie. But 10 Cloverfield Lane is amazing.
Yes, 10 Cloverfield Lane is something else. Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane. The Cloverfield Paradox, I remember watching and not thinking it was as bad as everyone was saying, but I haven't watched it in a long time and my taste has changed a lot. So I need to give it another go, I think.
It was a movie that had already been filmed and then they bought the rights to it and therefore they tried to cram it in and you can definitely get it. But funnily enough, A Quiet Place... Have you seen A Quiet Place? I haven't seen the second one, but A Quiet Place, when I watched that, I was like, that could have been a Cloverfield movie. And supposedly, J.J. Abrams did approach him and asked to be if it could be a part of the Cloverfield universe. And they said, we're going to do our own thing. But it definitely feels like it could have been a part of that universe.
100%.
Yeah. Right. Number 4. I'm going to do it again.
Oh, I don't know.
This thing says many things, and I've taken the one bit where it's not actually saying a word that would have definitely given it away.
Is it?
It's a great film.
Is it The Exorcist?
No, it's not. It's not.
Is it?
I'm gonna do it one more time.
It sounds like the singer of Disturbed. Is it?
No one's got it in the chat yet.
Oh, I just dropped my paintbrush. Ooh, is it? It's not The Grudge, because
it's not. It's not.
No.
Trying to think of a clue I could give. I mean, it's one of those clues. It's either going to be really obvious or not. It begins with B.
Babadook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Great movie. Yeah. See, if I'd done that beginning bit, when it says Babadook, that might have been a giveaway. Number 5.
Oh, this is a big beast that I know as well. Oh my god. I hate monsters that sound like that, by the way. It's horrible. Is that from Jurassic Park?
It is. It is the T-Rex
from
Jurassic Park. Well done.
We're in the camp of Jurassic Park is a horror movie. Yeah. It is.
How about this one?
What's that? I don't know what that is. What?
You've actually already said. You've already said this movie.
Christine. I'm just gonna keep saying Christine. Is it a car? Is it Leatherface?
It's a car. Yeah, these are all cars. Very strange. I would take the car back if any of them made this noise.
Texas Chainsaw?
It's an action. It's a very famous action in a movie, and then you hear this young girl at the end.
Oh, Exorcist.
Yeah, it's when is it Regan? The name. I've actually never seen The Exorcist,
Reagan.
but when her neck goes round and then.
Oh yeah, that's a nice noise.
It's a nice noise. Number 7.
Ooh, that one feels unfamiliar. Like it feels like it could be many things. This is such a good quiz, by the way. I love this as a concept. Oh, I just in Beard of Power 666 say pterodactyl. Yeah. No, that's not the noise I make. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It's a classic movie, first of a franchise, from the 70s.
Alien.
Yeah, it's the Xenomorph.
Yo.
I got invited for one of the Alien Day anniversaries, 20th Century Fox. They took us to a screening, like in their offices it was the big screen of like the director's cut of Alien, and it's just like all these decades later, it still holds up. It's like the John Carpenter's The Thing is one of my all-time favorite horrors because he used prosthetics, like so many scenes in that where the rib cage opens. It's The Thing VR game would be great, where it was like an Among Us, but like The Thing, that would be so good.
That would be crazy, and you could look at someone and they turn into like a big amorphous blob.
Yeah, the bit where they're all strapped in the chair and they're all trying to get out. Just like so many great moments of it. So good. So good. Right, number 8.
I don't like that noise. That makes me feel weird. That sounds like a water beast.
I've actually mislabeled this one. I'm glad I know it. I know it's actually a different one on the list. Oh, someone's got it in the chat.
Beast.
2 of them got it.
Oh yeah, I just looked. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Right.
I just went.
War of
They
the Worlds.
They did come from the sea. No.
These were the tripods from.
Yeah.
But a lot of these big monsters do have that kind of siren, like the Cloverfield. There's this kind of
honestly.
Godzilla. It's really powerful. What I love about Cloverfield was J.J. Abrams said he was visiting with his kids Japan and sees all the Godzilla, and like Godzilla is a metaphor for anxieties of the time with nuclear energy and that. Yeah. And J.J. Abrams thought we need our own monster, and obviously when you look at Cloverfield, there is a lot of parallels with 9/11, like the smoke clouds going down the street, and it's just that's a great example of horror. It's it's metaphors for real anxieties of
100%
society and that. Right, we got 4 more. Number 9.
I'm getting worse as it goes on. Is that someone saying something?
No. If it was saying something, it would go. In the movie, it goes bah 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 bah.
Babadook again? If we're going
no, it's not.
Have you barbarianed me?
It is barbarian.
That's a recent pick. I didn't even think you'd be able to grab a clip of that one.
Oh, that movie. Zach Cregger, I've been a huge fan of because I used to watch The Whitest Kids, and loved it on YouTube. And for that to be his debut is just amazing. Like I've always said to people, as it was said to me, go in blind. You're going to have an amazing time. Like Barbarian was just phenomenal.
It's so
and
good.
So many like Resident Evil vibes with the narrow corridors and stuff. Really, really good.
Oh, that shot where it's just like the beast kind of backing away. Oh my god!
Into the darkness. So yeah. It's so good. Number 10.
Wake up.
Wake up. Wake up.
Why'd you put a little makeup?
Wake up.
Yes.
Surge tank you.
It's the ASMR version of Chop Suey.
Wake up.
Ooh, and now I've got this whole time I've been like, man, I wish I had some words, and now I've got some words, and like I don't know what they are, what they're from.
I actually have the official costume of this thing.
Wake up.
It's got like a little echo to the voice, a little reverberation, and it can speak. So, and you have a costume of it. I'm trying to deduce this from clues.
And I have mentioned this on the show
today.
Yeah. And by the way, while Ash is guessing, just say the puzzle. 61 pieces left. You're very, very close. The edge is always the hardest part, so well done, chat. Well done.
Woo! Looking good.
Going to put Ash full screen as she thinks about this.
Oh,
the pressure.
I'm trying not to look at the chat just in case it gives it away. Hold on, there it is. Wake up.
Yeah, the chat's got it.
Wake up. Wake up. What would they be waking up from? And what would you have a costume
I'm going to give a clue.
of?
It's set in the 80s. It has themes of time travel. The world's going to end.
Wake up.
Hallucinations.
I'm stumped.
It is Donnie Darko.
Oh, well done, guys.
Frank the Bunny Rabbit. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Donnie Darko enough to commit that to memory. But that is a good pick.
That movie is just phenomenal. Although what scares me is that when it came out, it was in the 80s, and that felt like set before I was born. And now it's like the time between when the movie came out and now is longer than when the movie came out and when it was set. And I'm just like, oh, no. Yeah. Right, 2 more. Number 11. Do you know what? Is that the same one? Yeah, it is. Right, let me grab it because for some reason there's the wrong one there. Let me find this. Let me play the next one and we'll come back to it. Oh, this one's a human voice.
I love this quiz. Can I have it
Just want to
again,
end
please?
on a human story. Okay, again. It's amazing.
Curse me no. It sounds like, you know, when the Kiffness makes cat songs and he's like, "Yeah, big bully, the biggest one bully." It sounds like that, but like trying to make a song out of it. Curse me now. It sounds very wet and full of blood.
Yeah. There is wetness in there.
Ooh, Evil Dead.
No. It's in the water.
It's in the water. It's in the water. Oh God. Oh God. Is it Jaws? The opening
It
bit?
is. It's Chrissy.
Or the end?
When she went for a little swim at the beginning and
Yes. Yeah.
didn't have a good time. I think without giving spoilers. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah. You get the skinny dipping.
you can. It wasn't good. Yeah. It wasn't a good time. It wasn't a good time. Right, I can't get the other one to load, which is such a shame. It was. You
have to do an impression of it. Don't tell me. Do it. Do an impression.
There's no way. I used to be a metal vocalist, which would normally prep me good for this sort of stuff, but no, I couldn't. No, this voice is like the most I can't believe I haven't got it. And I do have like the ripped sound, but I don't know if it's gonna be. Let me see if I can dig it up here. Actually, yeah, I can. I can drag it in. This is the raw.
Oh, here we
file.
go.
I'll keep playing it. I've got the full clip here. I'll keep playing it until he gets it. This is a great last one, actually, having it play all the way. I like the idea that Ash knows what it is, but just wants to hear it all.
Enjoying myself.
Only 10 seconds left, Ash. That's it.
See, I would have guessed from that Predator, but we've already had Predator, so
Yeah, it does have the clicking sounds.
I know it. I think I've definitely seen it or heard it because it feels familiar.
Trying to think of tiptoeing to the line with clues. Like, it would be found in the woods. There are scenes where it's in the woods. Clicking would probably point to the fact that sound is important.
Oh, it's The Quiet Place. Yeah,
I knew I'd fucked it up when I said that. I was like, that was a clue too much. Yeah, it's and do you know actually what the monsters are called in A Quiet Place? I didn't know until I looked it up.
Big ear boys.
Ah, that's interesting. No, it was Death Angels.
Death Angels. That's very metal.
That's metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I haven't actually seen the second Quiet Place. I really want to. But
it's good. I liked it. I think the first one is The Shining Star, but the second one is like another small star next to it.
But why didn't they live at the waterfall, Ash? Why didn't they live at the waterfall?
How do you get a whole house's worth of equipment over to a waterfall? You tell me, internet.
I don't know. All I'm saying is I would have tried. I would have at least tried. But that would have been a boring movie. Just lugging stuff
You
to
mess
the
up,
waterfall.
though. They have a whole farm. And trying to get to the waterfall is impossible. They should just make loads of noise, and just constantly, and then the monsters will be like, that's enough.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we are going to wrap it up there. Ash, I want to say a huge thank you for coming on. It's been great chatting with you. I know we've gone on a bit longer than expected, but that's what happens when you have a good time. Where can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, that's been really fun. I love talking horror. That quiz was just great. I love that. Oh, hi Nico, just a new pop up on my face. Yeah, that was really, really good. So thank you so much for having me, Myles. And you can find me at Ash Millman across all my social media. Instagram, Twitter, Twitch are my big three, the triangle, the trifecta of socials that you can find me on. But if you'd like something a little more rounded for PlayStation content with other hosts, then PlayStation Access is the place to go. All sorts of games, all sorts of stuff, not just horror, though I am trying very hard to get a spooky little stirrer going on all the time there. So make of that what you will.
And all those links are in the description to this video. And if anyone wants to copy and post them in the chat, please do. When are you next live streaming?
I am definitely live streaming Sunday, which you can come into. I usually start at 7. I might be a little bit earlier because doing some painting on Sunday. So hop
Did
in
you get
there.
your white paint?
I did. Oh my god, it's on the floor, so I can't get it. But like, this desk is covered in paint. This is what I've been messing with this whole time. Is that dried up white paint from the other stream? For context, for anybody who doesn't know. Oh, it's horrible. For context, for anybody who doesn't know what Myles is talking about, I streamed the other day. I was going to a painting stream of Thingy from Thingy, Vicar Amelia from Bloodborne, and went to go and get my paints out to do it. And I had no paint because it all dried up because it's years old. So I've had to order some more from Amazon. But I'm starting that on Sunday. I'm also live streaming tomorrow with PlayStation Access, or there will be a live stream on tomorrow at PlayStation Access at 4 o'clock. So, yeah.
So Fall Guys, you can now design your own courses on it, and people have been submitting.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's amazing.
Creator levels in it is sick.
Oh wow, that's good. No, I'll definitely have to tune into that. Great. Thank you so much, Ash. Yeah, definitely check out all the great stuff that she does. Such a positive force, and it's always a thing, isn't it? Horror fans are always like the nicest people. I mean, I can't speak for myself, but like there seems to be this weird dichotomy, especially like people that are into heavy music as well. Just never seem to be the kind of people you think they are. So yeah. It's
because we get out all our nastiness, man. It comes out into the media that we listen to. I always think, as a closing thought, that being an anxious, depressed person watching horror always makes me feel better, because it's like it's a place where not everything is perfect. It's a place where everything does go wrong, and worrying about those things often results in a positive outcome because you've predicted something that's going to happen, that the whole time you'd be like, oh my god, I'm going to trip over and I'm going to take my eye out by falling on a nail. That's going to happen in a horror movie. So, worrying actually has a positive outcome.
Where do you first go when there's a zombie apocalypse? Or you're not allowed to tell us.
I honestly, the zombie apocalypse fan.
Don't tell everyone. It's your place.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Just outside and say "bite me" is what I'm going to do for the zombie apocalypse.
my brother always said that at his university he knew like where like the gun range training was, so he said he'd go there, and then I think it was Portsmouth, was it? And then I didn't realise until then, but off the coast is where they used to film Fort Boyard. There's that like fort in the middle of the ocean, and he says he'd go there, and I was like, that's really great, but you need your supplies. Supplies.
Fort Boyard needs some snacks.
I wonder if the tigers are still there.
Yeah, they'd eat you.
And if not, they're going to be very hungry. And you're not gonna... they'll be like, oh, great, someone's brought lunch. Awesome. Look, going to wrap this up. Want to say a huge thank you to Ash and to everyone. And as always, at the end of this, would love to hear your thoughts. So let us know. And we'll see you next time. Much love.
On the road, I was chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye in sky. Far away, but dreaming of your ocean eyes. chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye big sky. Far away but dreaming of your ocean eyes.
Hey everyone, just want to say a huge thank you once more to Ash for joining the live stream. Absolutely brilliant guest, and she was extra generous with her time. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. This has been a really great show. I've enjoyed it. I look forward to having many more people on in future. So if you are new, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell to be notified about all future live shows. I'm going to be on PSVR Without Parole on Friday, and then live streaming on Saturday, Red Matter 2. And then next Wednesday, I'm going to be probably doing something with Without Parole during the PlayStation Showcase, which means doing this early or later. And I've just been told, in good timing, a huge well done to everyone for completing the puzzle, all in excellent time. There was one thing I wanted to talk about on the show, didn't get a chance to, but there's always next time, and it was... On that note, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. I love you all. Love, respect, empathy, and adios. Till next time, have a good night.